This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you!
Boring. Boring. Boring.
Okay, you got it. Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
I call again for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages.
Welcome one and all, I'm Lembit and Öpik. This is Lembit and Öpik Live on Unprecedented TV, where we find the facts, kill the spin, and tell it like it is, as best we can establish it. So good you could join us today. And thanks very much for your increasing patronage, which is a good thing. Do please subscribe to our YouTube channel, creatively enough called Unprecedented TV. You won't regret it. We're in talks for some original filmmaking. More of that to come in the near future. And that just means that the stable of opportunities to watch interesting stuff just keeps expanding. And thank you for thinking for yourself. That's the one thing the mainstream media doesn't really want you to do, but we thrive on it. We want you to be independent-minded. And also, if you disagree with what we say, then get involved in the chat. I'm not precious about that. You're allowed to have your own point of view. Oh, yes, that's not something you hear on the mainstream very often, but that is the lifeblood of freedom of expression, and that's what we're all about. Well, one more thing about the shows. You'll find so many other great shows. Dire Consequences is going great guns. We got Tim Scott Uncancelled. He's going to be on again very shortly, and a host of other shows as well. So lots to look forward to. Now then, I want to talk with you about the continuing problems facing the Labour Party. If you're watching this live, then you'll know that quite recently there was a by-election in a place called Caerphilly in Wales, where the Labour Party's existing Senedd member of the Welsh Assembly, died and needed to be replaced. So they held a by-election, and after a century of holding Caerphilly, Labour lost. They didn't just lose by a bit. They got something like 11%. It was pathetic. Plaid Cymru, the Welsh nationalists, won, but Reform came second. Is this the end of Labour? Is this a harbinger of things to come, not just across Wales, but across Scotland and England? Is this basically the darkest hour, which will mean that the Labour Party get rid of Keir Starmer sometime around May or June next year and replace him with somebody else? Who knows? Maybe this is the big moment for that political colossus. Oh, yes, David Lammy. But enough of that. Maybe we'll mention him later on in the show. What is going wrong with Labour? Why the meltdown? And crucially, why is it that Keir Starmer's preferred candidate for deputy leader of the Labour Party, that was Bridget Phillipson, crashed and burned, didn't win? But the outsider, a person who Keir Starmer himself actually fired from a ministry position not long ago, that's Lucy Powell, made the grade. She's the deputy leader now. And there's no love lost between her and Keir Starmer, as far as I can see. Lots going wrong there, lots to discuss. Well, let's talk about all of this with somebody who's winning. He goes from strength to strength. That's him there, Warren Thornton. Warren, greetings. How are you?
Hello, Lembit. Good to be with you.
Looks to me from the rather better signal than usual that you haven't got a high wind in Manila.
No, it's not too bad, thankfully, at the moment. Although Tal Volcano woke up this morning and burped a few times. So that's about 80 kilometers away. So we're keeping an eye on that one.
It won't affect you, though, will it? Unless there's ash.
Not unless it really goes, should we go silly? Just woke up and coughed a couple of times. But of course, it had everybody sort of panicking. But it's usual for Tal Volcano every now and again to wake up. But of course, the Ring of Fire has been waking up quite often in the last few weeks. So,
tell us about the Ring of Fire before we go into the politics. What's that mean?
So it's a tectonic plate that literally goes around the Pacific, and it's called the Ring of Fire. Now, it's a fault line that rides on the tectonic plate, and of course, it is probably the most active plate in the world. But that's not a bad thing. Okay, so every now and again it will go bang. But it's much better than other tectonic plates, which over time, of course, are building that don't go bang. And of course, they're building up that tension. And then eventually when they do go bang, it's not quite so nice. So probably better that we have the odd earthquake here and there very, very quickly, or the odd volcano going off, rather than the should we say, the massive build-up.
Well, the tectonic plates of politics are shifting in the United Kingdom. And frankly, I know that one plate goes over another. It seems that everyone's going over Labour at the moment. You may have seen this by-election in Caerphilly, which is a town, a constituency in Wales. Labour got absolutely wiped out. 11-12%. It was just plain embarrassing. What's gone wrong with Labour?
Well, absolutely everything. They've forgotten the people. That's the main issue that we have. The grooming gangs inquiry has been nothing but an absolute disaster. There are calls now for Jess Phillips to resign. The winter payments didn't help. Keir Starmer, honestly, sounds like somebody. I mean, I don't know about you, Lembit, but whenever he goes to talk, he sounds like somebody who's actually got something stuck in his throat. That sort of, and he just doesn't sit well with the people at all. He's also a globalist. He's running around with the likes of Zelensky, running around all over the place instead of taking care of business back at home. And everybody knows he's a bit of a World Economic Forum boy, good friends with Larry Fink and Bill Gates. And people don't want to see corporations and globalists running Great Britain. They want people who are going to put Britain first. And of course, the immigration scandal, which of course is part and parcel that's fueled the grooming gangs inquiry, where Jess Phillips was trying to widen that. And then, of course, we've had Lucy Powell being brought in because nobody in the world wanted Bridget Phillipson. And finally, you had the absolute debacle of Caerphilly, where Labour tried to explain that away by reform coming second and going, it's a complete rejection of reform.
Though reform, we'll come to that. Reform did rather well there. But since you mentioned Jess Phillips, let's try and get, if we can in the time available, get through each of those. Jess Phillips, who's the safeguarding minister for women and girls. Apparently abuse against men doesn't exist, according to the Labour Party. They never talk about abuse against men and boys, just women and girls. Incredibly sexist, actually. But when Jess Phillips was essentially criticised by others in the chamber, she went crazy, absolutely crazy. Have a look at this.
Mr. Speaker, the cover-up continues. We have a Prime Minister who never wanted a national inquiry. We have a Minister who never wanted a national inquiry. And we have the Labour backbenchers who never wanted a national inquiry. So does the Minister agree with me that the victims of these horrific crimes will never get the justice they deserve as long as we have a Labour government in charge?
Minister.
It's quite impressive that you would stand up and say that after a grooming victim stood up and spoke on these benches. But, you know, I've learnt to expect it. When the honourable gentleman stands up and talks about cover-up, I understand that or maybe he's doing it for clicks, I don't know, but I understand that he thinks he's doing, you know, God's work in fighting this. The level of bad faith, the idea that it's easy to find a chair or easy to find people who want to step forward and take part in this process when it is mired in, I have to say, political point scoring like he just did. I have to say, I think that he should really question his own morality.
Sarah Russell.
Oh, you've muted them, Lembit.
About that, I've been muted. I may have been muted, but my argument stands. There we go.
Yes.
Heads will roll in the gallery later. What I was saying was, well, I suppose she wants to mute all the opposition. It's absolutely pathetic. She comes across as a child, in my view. And she's meant to be in charge of safeguarding, and all she does is throw mud at Lee Anderson. I am told that she essentially said that some of the rape gang victims, let's use the right phrase, not grooming gang, rape gang victims, were not telling the truth, that they were wrong. How can you say that? How can you say that, Warren?
Well, she said it's mired in political point scoring, but when you're not doing or holding, or you're trying to broaden the scope of the political inquiry because you're a little bit uncomfortable that the Muslims who mainly vote for you in your constituency will get upset, and you try to broaden that inquiry to try and, if you like, offset some of the blame. And also, shall we say, many Labour councillors are going to go down in this, police officers, social workers, and everybody who helped cover this up, because of, shall we say, the demographic that it points out, which is mainly or principally or overwhelmingly Pakistani grooming gangs who took part in this. Now, here's the thing that really gets you as well. When she says this, and of course we know that this is political expediency, you have people who were taking part in the process turning around and saying that she should resign because, of course, she's making it very difficult, and basically called this woman a liar. And for her to get up on her feet and start having a go in the way she did shows that she's under pressure, shows that she's cracking. She voted against this. Anybody who voted against this, we should have an independent inquiry. Instead, we've got a Labour, shall we say, a woman in charge of safeguarding people, safeguarding women and children, doing the very opposite by being put in charge of something like this, when she herself is literally, shall we say, trying to protect Labour. So we've got a Labour person in charge investigating Labour's failings in their councils to protect women and children. And we have women who have been abused, who have been brave enough to come forward, now saying that the process is completely toxic, that she's completely trying to shift the goalpost. There is nowhere left for her to hide. She should resign.
Yeah, that's the thing. While she's pointing the finger of blame at others, it's so obvious, so baldly, embarrassingly obvious, that she's lost the faith of a lot of the victims of rape who have resigned. And now they say, oh, but these other ones will say that they would resign if Jess Phillips left. I don't think there was anything becoming at all about what we've just seen there. And this is a biggie, because... Yes,
sorry, Lembit. I just wanted to make this other point. She was also the woman who turned around and said that the rapes in Germany, the sexual assault in Germany, were pretty much nothing more than catcalls, so people shouldn't make a big fuss about them.
So the way that they try to dismiss all of this is just truly... It's almost unbelievable, actually. You think, how can they have got this far in politics if this is all they think?
I think you're right, Lembit. What we mustn't forget is the scale of this. 250,000 women have been, in one way or another, sexually abused. The very idea that this shouldn't be a huge scandal in terms of trying to protect. And every single person, whether it be in Rotherham, Telford, Sheffield, we've now got Labour mayors who are Muslim. Can people not see how that would play with the electorate? It is no wonder they are being destroyed at the ballot box.
Yeah, and it's not the only problem they've got. They've got so many other ones as well. And let's talk about one of the other ones. We'll save Philly till after the break. But the other problem that Keir Starmer has is that Lucy Powell has now been elected as the deputy leader of the Labour Party. Now, she was not the choice. Let's be honest. She was not the choice of Keir Starmer.
No.
And couldn't do it. So even the Labour Party isn't voting for his people. Do you know what the turnout was for this deputy leadership election? 16.7%.
Yes.
1 in 6 Labour members bothered to vote for it. And of the ones that bothered voting, of course, they decisively voted for Lucy Powell. Now, I don't know very much about Lucy Powell, but there must be something good about her if this man, the Prime Minister, wanted to get rid of her. And now she has got absolutely no obligation whatever to be loyal to Keir Starmer. None at all.
No, exactly that. I mean, but, you know, it is, as I say, and many people have turned around and said she is what you might call a Fabian. So she is, as you can see there. So we are talking about two sides of the same cheek. It's just political, shall we say, where you want to go in politics. So she sees it as a perfect thing because she's now been voted in as deputy leader. Nobody wanted LGBTQ trans rights, Bridget Phillipson. Of course, she would have been vastly unpopular. And of course, this woman now sees this as a perfect chance because, let's face it, Keir Starmer is a walking wounded animal just being waiting for the wolves to come along and finish him off. The trouble is, there aren't any decent wolves inside the Houses of Parliament. They're all a flock of sheep.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how Lucy Powell carries out her promise to be the voice of the Labour Party membership. We know that Keir Starmer is not cutting it with the membership. Desperately unpopular in the Labour Party, even more unpopular with the country. And back to Lucy Powell here. If she does a good enough job, who knows? Maybe she could take a shot at the leadership. Though I think she's probably going to be backing Andy Burnham, who's the Labour mayor of Manchester, who quite clearly set out his stall. He's tried to become leader before. I actually have to say, I think Andy Burnham's pretty good. I actually think he's quite an impressive sort of operator. But once again, you know, he's got the machine, the faltering machine, it must be said, but the machine all the same, fighting against him there. So from all angles, Keir Starmer is in a lot of trouble, isn't he, Warren?
Yes, he's in a lot of trouble because let's face it, Corbynites or whatever are starting to raise their heads above the parapet because Starmer is doing such a bad deal and such a bad job. And the problem is, as well as we know from 1930s Germany, when things are that bad, you'll literally almost turn to anyone. It's not that Andy Burnham or should we say the Corbynites have got anybody. It's probably going to be Wes Streeting further down the road. He's the anointed one from the Bilderberg group, and as we know, money talks. But Lucy Powell is a stalking horse, and there's no problem whatsoever. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, she is the stalking horse to get rid of Keir Starmer. She's saying that she's not. But I don't think she's a massively serious contender. I think she's there to damage Starmer. And with every chance she's going to get, she's going to turn around and say, well, it's not my thing, of course. If I were in charge, I would do this. You know? So Starmer is under attack from everywhere. He's under attack from ineffective Conservative. He's under attack from Reform, who they don't let ask questions in the House very much. Yeah. And, of course, he's under attack from his own MPs.
Well, look at the lovey-doveyness there. One big happy family. Not. Let's go back to that Fabian Society comment there. Congratulations to Lucy Powell for winning the deputy leadership contest. We look forward to working with you. If you haven't already, read Lucy's vision for the role, which he set out for Fabian members ahead of our hustings. Fabian's desperately trying to get in there. I used to think the Fabians were a good organisation, but kind of gone off them a bit now, Warren.
Lembit, these shadowy government or organisations that hang around governments, and you should know this by now, having been a former MP, they are just there to influence politicians with their own agenda, whether it be the World Economic Forum, whether it be the Israel lobby, whether it be Big Pharma. Anybody is hanging around these people and bigging them up. As a politician, you should know this, Lembit. You're the only politician I've ever trusted.
Thank you. I wish more of my constituents had felt the same way. We'll come back to you in a minute. That is first half of the show with Warren Thornton. We've saved the best till last, or worst till last if you're in the Labour Party. Caerphilly, the by-election there. Absolute catastrophe. What went wrong? Well, what's going very right here in Unprecedented TV is our stable of great presenters with fantastic shows, doing our best to tell it like it is. One of my personal favourites is Tim Scott on Council. must watch. A few more of his shows coming up very shortly. But back to Warren Thornton, who is our man in Manila. I do like saying that. The thriller in Manila. How far do you live from Manila?
About 30 kilometres.
Can you actually see it? Can you see the bright lights in the sky then?
I can, across the lake, yes.
The lake? You're on the other side of a lake from it. That's really
Yes.
cool. Wow. Well, okay. I must note to self, must come and see you sometime. You never know. There could be other people leaving with one-way tickets. Maybe one of them might be Keir Starmer after a catastrophic result for him in the Caerphilly by-election. It was just absolutely desperate. They just couldn't hold it together. And I went there a few times, and it was there's the winning candidate, Plaid Cymru guy, who'd actually stood 13 times. And so he finally made it. I don't begrudge that, really. So they got almost half the vote, something like 49%. But Reform came second. Now, Reform got 36%, which is pretty good, considering they got 1.7% the last time. The increase in the vote, can we just hold that on the screen, please? Thanks. The increase in the vote for Reform was actually more than the total vote share for the Liberal Democrat, for the Labour Party. At the last election, I was looking at the Lib Dems because they came last. My old party, 497 votes. Well, there we are. It's not very many, that. But the thing is, everything tells us that Labour is in an irrecoverably bad situation. Look at the percentages there. 47.4 for Plaid Cymru, the Welsh Nationalists. 36 for Reform. Labour down to 11, and everybody else also runs. What a pathetic performance in a seat which the Labour Party's held for 100 years, for a century. That's just not a good look, is it?
No, absolutely. It was quite funny, I thought, when the Labour candidate, I think his name is Tunnicliffe, we had an insider there who told us that he had approached the returning officer at one of the tables and said, "How's it looking?" And the returning officer actually turned around and said, "I think you're toast."
I'm not sure that's a technical term, but it doesn't need any explanation.
Yes. I can't do it in a fabulous Welsh voice, but one of our friends who was very, very close to the action turned around and said that he just literally turned around and said, "I think you're toast," and I thought that was absolutely wonderful. And this was about 2 hours into the count, Lembit.
That's so funny. Well, it was so obvious that the numbers were really abysmal for the Labour Party. That's the Plaid Cymru leader. Used to work for the BBC. That tells you something. Yeah, I know. But there we go. So yeah, they're completely, absolutely annihilated in this seat. Totally annihilated, and that's a really grim thing, because if you look at it, what we're looking at there is a serious left-wing contender for a lot of Labour votes for those who don't want to vote for Reform. It seems to me likely that the next Senate or Assembly elections will be Reform versus Plaid Cymru. And Labour's just not going to be there. They're going to just lose control. And so their leader, Eleanor Morgan, she used to be an MEP, who actually know pretty well. I remember when she was in the early days of her career. Oh, how have we all aged now? She's aged better than me, I think. But she was pleasant enough. But she is now presiding over what's going to be a catastrophic disaster, and she'll probably get the blame.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to, and of course, heads will roll. Somebody else will go in who's even more, shall we say, alienated to the people. And the problem that we had was Labour and the mainstream media tried to spin it as though this is without doubt, the fact that they didn't want us, we understand. But of course, Plaid Cymru would never have got the seat. This is an overwhelming rejection of Reform's policies. And it's like, well, you got 11%. Reform got what, 36? If that's a rejection, yours is an absolute dismissal. And very, very shortly, the Labour Party at the next general election are going to be dismissed out of office. Now, there's a really, really straightforward thing. There is no shall we say, there's dishonesty in politics. They always say there's no honesty in politics, but there's no loyalty either. And if they don't get rid of Starmer very, very soon, the position which we already say is unrecoverable will be catastrophic. Remember that everybody has their spoons going in the trough, Lembit, and they won't want them to come out of the trough. They don't want to be on the sideline.
Small point. It's irrecoverable, not unrecoverable. But then I went to a grammar school.
You did.
And maybe you did too. Just a word about Reform UK. I've had the pleasure of having a chat with Nigel Farage, and that's Claire, the Reform UK candidate who came second. And Nigel's pretty optimistic. And I did talk with him about it. It was obvious that it was Reform or Plaid. And it's not a bad result, because what that tells you is we're almost in an anyone but Labour situation. So although Reform's fighting or competing more accurately with Plaid Cymru for the Labour vote, in England that doesn't happen. They're just going to hoover it up. It's all going to come to Reform, I would say.
Exactly that. This is a staggering thing that I don't think I've ever known this to be the case in my lifetime, Lembit. In that you get people saying how bad this government, how bad that is, and lobbying very, very hard for what they're going to do when they get into power. This is the only time I've ever known where Nigel Farage could shut up for the next 2 years and win by a landslide.
Yeah, people are saying now that he just has to coast in and just not mess up, because the Uni Party is just disgracing itself. Labour, Lib Dem, Conservative, they don't even look different. And the Greens having their wacky time. People tell me that Zach Polanski, the leader of the Greens, is quite a nice chap. People who I like say that, but they're so off the wall. More migrants, send more migrants, and all this stuff. Climate emergency.
More migrants, more wind turbines.
It's crazy. So, so is this the end of Labour? I mean, the end of Labour's dominance in Wales for sure, I think. Now, I can't see how they can come back. But is this the end of Labour across the United Kingdom, do you think?
I think it's certainly going to be massively damaging. They're going to be down where the Conservatives are. And unless they sort themselves out, you see, it's what we do not have, Lembit. I mean, you've got the Greens with their wacky, and let's get a stick of celery and whack the far right. You've got Labour, Conservative, and Lib Dems, and none of them represent the people. Not one.
Yeah, and this is the thing, when you look at people like this chap here, I'm sure he's a very decent guy. I didn't actually meet him while I was down at the election, but when you've got people like him coming in and just hoovering up the vote, almost half the vote just went to Plaid, and that must have come from Labour largely. There's just no way of seeing a recovery at the moment. Like, I can't see how they pull this back. Doesn't seem to be any way of doing it.
No, absolutely. It is one of these things where you look at it and you go, there is nothing they can do. What they've done is they've taken globalism, they've taken corporations, and they've run with them, and they've left the people behind. And the people have overwhelmingly rejected them.
Yeah, and that's the issue. They've actually lost the trust of the people. And just my opinion here is that Keir Starmer isn't capable of improvement. If he could have been better, he would have been better, but he's not. And all the time now, the embarrassing messes he gets himself into. He went all the way to Egypt to be seen with the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, only to be completely knocked back and actually humiliated, which we predicted, of course. We were said that he probably isn't making a very wise decision by going there.
No.
Go on, you're going to say, sorry.
For the things that they've lost the people for, Lembit, we don't want to know that this shiny new guy is coming in the NHS and he's going to reform all these hospitals and everything else. We want Mrs. Thompson to be able to get a doctor's appointment. We don't want to know that there is going to be somebody out there who's going to draft a new bill on anti-Semitism. We want young girls in Britain to be able to walk down the streets in safety. You see, they've just forgotten what the normal, ordinary person needs. And he doesn't want much. He wants to be able to go to work. He wants to be able to raise his children. He's quite happy working his fingers to the bone in some cases, but he just wants his family life to be okay. He doesn't want to be called this, that, and the other. He wants to be able to voice his opinion. He doesn't want the police knocking on his door at 2 a.m. in the morning to warn him about something he might have said in a tweet 3 years ago. This is where the how can I put it, the globalists or the elitists have completely and utterly lost the faith and the trust of the people. And when you lose both of those things, you're in between a rock and a hard place.
There is some hope, though. They do have a secret weapon, a political giant who could just reunite the Labour Party.
Don't go there. Don't do it.
Yeah. A man who you would be proud, I tell you, to see standing up to the United Nations saying, I, as Prime Minister, say this and that. A man who would stand tall in the G8 and would certainly be at the front of the queue at the buffet. It is, of course, none other than this gentleman here. Yes, David Lammy, in charge of justice, apparently, as well as being Deputy Prime Minister. It's the gift that keeps on giving. You know, I'm slightly angry. I'm slightly angry with the Prime Minister because he hasn't gone off on one of his trips yet on a Wednesday, because I want to see David Lammy performing, and it will be a performance at that point, that glorious point when Starmer just isn't there and Lammy has to get up and answer questions, and you won't know what the questions are going to be.
Honestly, I mean, this is a man who went to Brookes University. Everybody says he went to Oxford. He went to Brookes. There's a big difference. And here's the problem that you have. This man is thicker than a gatepost. He really is. He's not. He's got all the charm of a Rottweiler who's suffering from rabies. He climbs in the back of taxis, leaves them in a disgraceful condition. Argues with taxi drivers. This is a guy who was the foreign minister, misbehaving in a foreign country. I mean, talk about diplomatic credentials. He's got none. He's now the Minister for Justice. So all we'll get is, please, can we have reparations for something that happened in the slave trade many, many, many years ago, where he doesn't understand that slave trade, how it started, and that Britain took a lead role in stopping it. And this guy, this is a guy who thought that Marie Antoinette won a Nobel Prize for physics. This is a man who will be calling somebody king, turning around and saying King Charles succeeded King Charles V or the Fourth or whatever. He's not the brightest person you've ever met. You've only got to see his thing on Mastermind. As a deputy minister, as a deputy, you couldn't have him as a deputy leader. I mean, this guy is a calamity. On steroids, he's a calamity on steroids. I mean, it's not like Labour they've got a dearth of bad politicians, but to elect one that is, honestly, I've got ties.
He wasn't elected; he was appointed. Starmer appointed him, as deputy prime minister. There wasn't any election in that. He was just plunked in there.
Lembit, I've worn ties with higher IQs than this guy's got. He honestly, this is the sort of guy who would turn around and think that the London Underground's a political movement.
But do you know who the favourite apparently is to take over from Starmer? I'll give you a guess. You have a guess?
Oh, it's got to be Streeting, surely.
No. Ed Miliband.
Oh my good God!
That's what they say. That's what they say. I don't know if this is any objective analysis, but apparently Ed Miliband, he's the man of the people. He's the one apparently they want. He's the one they want. I mean, I want him. I really would love to have him as prime minister. It'd be so fun.
No, a windy turbine. It wouldn't be a good thing because I mean, this was a guy who stood there and tried to sort of mimic Bob Dylan's "Blowing in the Wind" for a climate change. Nobody in the world believes in the climate scam. Okay,
they do. Lots of people do. Lots of people do. It's wrong.
They don't.
Lots of people do.
No, they don't, Lembit. They've just been brainwashed into thinking that it's right. The actual people with brains don't believe in this climate nonsense for one second.
No doubt insulting some of my viewers now. Some of the viewers will.
I don't care.
There is.
Very simply, if you do believe in the climate changes, you're absolutely right. It does. If you believe it's because it's man-made or that we're all going to be underwater in 20 years, please go and see the doctor. That's when you can get an appointment and get a jab. The thing that really gets you here, Lembit, is when you look at, if you are behind something that the people think is nonsense, they're going to view you as nonsense. So the chances of Miliband being taken seriously as a leader by anybody anywhere in the world are zero. Can you imagine Miliband going to visit Trump?
Oh, it'd be fantastic. It'd be just so funny. Oh, look, the elves will literally blow in the wind. Not a beautiful thing to say, Ed. I thought Lemmy was bad. I thought Keir was bad. You're worse. I mean, it would be like Zelensky, the Zelensky-Trump relationship.
You'll be going from one guy who sounds like he's clearing his throat all the time to one guy who sounds like he's talking underwater.
You're definitely on something today. Something feisty is happening there.
I'm sick of these. It is almost as though the lunatics have taken over the asylum, and the problem is the lunatics are getting worse.
Yeah, well, yeah, but this guy may not be around much longer the way things are going. I thought he'd make it all the way through to the next general election. Now I'm not so sure. I literally don't know. I mean, his gormless, completely characterless approach to everything. You're having a bad effect on me now. I'm being uncharacteristically rude, but the guy's just no good. I mean, he just doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
No, he's an absolute. He's a disaster on all fronts, and he still hasn't answered the question how he knows 3 Ukrainian male models.
Maybe he doesn't. He never said he did know them.
Well, how did they know where he lived and then set fire to his cars and his former properties?
Allegedly, nothing's been proved. And here's the other point. Go on.
I think we're entitled to answers, Lembit.
Well, maybe digital ID would tell us. I somehow doubt it. They couldn't even stop. They couldn't even detain a man who was found guilty very publicly, a migrant asylum seeker, as they call them, of sexual offences. They actually walked him to a train station, said, off you go. So I'm not sure. But it must be a complicated case, that, because while Lucy Connolly was put in prison in a matter of days for hurting words on the internet, we're going to have to wait till April 2026 for this trial. Handy timing, though, just before the May local elections. Don't think they thought that through. Warren, where can we get more Warren Thornton? Obviously, we regularly play out your show or part of it, but to get the whole show, where do people go?
Yes, and we're very grateful. We are on unprecedented TV literally every day. But we're also at warrenthornton.com with the full news show that we have. It's a full 2-hour news show. We have a subscriber show in the morning as well. And of course, that is 6 days a week. And on Sunday, we are with the wonderful Lembit Öpik.
Yes, well, time permitting. Yeah, I did let you down a little bit very recently. I'm sorry about that. But I was plowing my furrow as a film.
We understand. We understand you were judging a film competition. The smell of the greasy paint, the lights. We understand.
Well, sort of. That's half right. I'll leave it at that. Warren, always pleasure to speak with you. That is Warren Thornton, and he's absolutely right. We usually broadcast half of his show here on Unprecedented TV on weekdays and on sometimes on Saturday too. But if you want the whole show, go to warrenthornton.com and you won't be disappointed. So thanks very much to Warren Thornton. I think I'd conclude by saying this. The current Labour Party is in deep trouble. Lucy Powell's election as the deputy leader indicates that Starmer doesn't even have control of his own membership. The Caerphilly by-election was absolutely catastrophic, indicates Labour will lose control of the Welsh Assembly, or Senate as it's technically called. And on top of all of that, you've got people swimming around, swirling around now, beginning to smell blood and see an opportunity to potentially become the Prime Minister. Remember, if Keir Starmer resigned, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a general election. It simply means that the Labour Party decides who's the next Prime Minister. And something we'll come back to again in good time, the rape gang scandal, the biggest scandal being that Labour doesn't seem very keen on properly investigating it. And Warren and I both think that's for party political reasons. You can have your say as well. Go to X. Happy to have a chat with you. And once again, please subscribe at Unprecedented TV on the YouTube. If you want to find it really fast, put Unprecedented TV and my name, Lembit, Lembit, just like on the screen there. And you can subscribe. I really hope you do. Thanks so much for watching, and do enjoy the wonderful offerings from the many other presenters with the eclectic set of shows here on Unprecedented TV. I'm Lembit Öpik. This was Lembit Öpik Live on Unprecedented TV. See you soon.
Immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The return of the sausages.